Here with a quick match day preview. This is going to be quite a quick one today. Just going through the matches. Grimsby head to Gillingham to hopefully put the midweek disappointment behind them after the loss at, like I said, midweek against Chesterfield. So, David Artell had his pre-match interview with obviously the club media and including James Hogarth of Radio Humberside, and he was asked about certain injuries and transfer speculation, which I'm not going to go into in this because I think it's far too early to talk about that at the moment. At least nothing solid, I would say, to talk about. Because I think we've got a playoff chase to really worry about more than at the minute who's coming in, who isn't in the summer. He was asked about Evan Corey. He was asked about George McEachran, and obviously he was asked about Zach Gilzennan. And two bits of good news. Obviously one bit of not so good news. Evan Corey has been seen around the training pitch without his supported brace on, which is a good sign. That doesn't necessarily mean that he'll be training anytime soon, but it's a good sign. George McEachran should be on the grass probably tomorrow or early next week. But again, on the grass doesn't mean he's that close, but it's good that he's improving. The most unfortunate one is Zach Gilzennan. Unfortunately, he is going to be out for the remainder of this season with a leg injury. Looks like it might be his quad. Injury possibly his thigh, but Zach is done for the season. Artell says they have an option about what to do with Zach, so they're going to look into that in the next couple of weeks as to what to do. I actually think it maybe might be the last time you see Zach Gilzennan in a town shirt. Who knows? But three disappointments there, sort of news-wise, as we don't know how close the other two really are to a return. And obviously, Sam Lavelle looks like he's took another knock in the Lynx Cup final, which the Mariners lost 3-0, by the way, to Boston. Hursley 1, Grimsby 0 in that regard. Actually, I don't think we've got a good record against Paulhurst in general, have we? And it was a fairly good interview by Dave. I think he covered all the stuff you'd expect. A little bit about the opposition. Talk about stats saying Gillingham shouldn't be where they are. I'm sorry, David, but after about 44 games, or 43 games in their case, you are where you deserve to be, and I heard him say that right at the back end of his interview with James. No, you are where you deserve to be after 43 games. There's no stats prove this. So, unfortunately, Gillingham haven't been good enough throughout the year. Gareth Ainsworth is a very, very good manager, and I think I definitely expect them to improve next season, because Gillingham for the last couple of years in League 2 really have flattered to deceive, and sort of us, I think we're starting to improve more year on year. I just don't believe in those kind of stats that a team, after so many games doesn't deserve to be where they are. Yeah, after so many games you do. Even if it's whether it's shots on target, points per game, whatever else, goals per game, you are where you are. We go into this game obviously off the back of the loss to Chesterfield. Quite disappointing after missing the penalty. Artell was asked about that. Obviously, him saying that he's starting as the best overall technique in the club. Again, I have to question that sometimes by wondering, well, if that was the case, why hasn't he been on them ever since he's been able to be played? That doesn't mean that he hasn't got one. He hasn't got some, but it seems strange when that's his first penalty outside the penalty shootout that he's taken. But like I said, I saw the pen back and it wasn't that bad of a penalty. It was just a good save by the keeper. But it was one of those interviews that you could have picked holes in, really. And some of what Artell was saying, not all, but just those few little bits. But Artell was very David Artell, very level-headed, very not getting carried away, which I agree with. And it is about picking up as many points as we can pick up, and just see where it goes. I did see someone on social media and to this saying, I did reply to this, saying that you got Fleetwood, we want them to do us a favour. No, my overall take on this is we need to get our results. We can't do anything about the Fleetwood result. We can't do anything against the Barnet result or anything like that that's around us. All we can do is focus on our results. That's it. And Artell did say if we focus on that and get our points, the league position will sort itself out. Only thing I'd say heading into the last 4 games is, all I'd say to the lads is just get to the last day. Get it so there's something on that last game. If you do that, you never know. And if the goal difference is strong, you never know. Moving on to the game though, we've got Gillingham who lie in 17th. The Mariners lie in 8th. I'm using obviously the BBC Sport website for this information. 50 points for Gillingham, a good 18 points behind the Mariners on 68 points. Goals scored. Gillingham have scored 49 goals this season to the Mariners 63. So, very prominent attack. They've conceded 62. The Mariners have conceded 47. 410 shots. Not many shots between the two sides though. They've had about 11 shots less, 399. Shots 180 by Gillingham. I wasn't going to do it anywhere else at the minute. 410 for the Mariners, so we, on target 200 for the Mariners. So not a great deal of difference there. Off target 210 and 219 in Gillingham's favour. 164 block shots from Gillingham and 174 block shots by us. If you look at the pass accuracy between the two sides, the Mariners sort of take control of that. Nearly 71% of the ball to 62.5% for Gillingham. And points dropped from a winning position for the Mariners is 14, for Gillingham is 19. Points gained is 9 for the Mariners from a losing position. 14 for Gillingham. Excuse me. And if we look at the recent form, Gillingham have had a bit of an upturn, most definitely. Obviously only 2 defeats in their last 5 games, 2 draws and only 1 win though. That win came at home to Accrington Stanley. Other results have had 2 draws, a 2-2 draw at Walsall and a 0-0 draw at Salford City. Last time out though, Gillingham did come away with a 2-1 defeat at Cheltenham. If we look at the Mariners' recent form, it's actually 4 wins in the last 6 for the Mariners, which you can't really say is too bad. Obviously, last Tuesday ended up with a disappointing 2-1 defeat in that last minute Staunton penalty miss. But wins against Crewe, Barrow and of course Crawley balance out with the Harrogate defeat in the middle of that. So you look at the form, you'd say the Mariners are, and the Mariners are going to be favourites going into this, there's no doubt, but you know, only 2 defeats in 5 for Gillingham. They have definitely improved. I think now they know where they are, and now they know what, you know, you could say, you know, they could be on the beach, but they've been getting results lately, which I think they'll just be in a relaxed mood. Determined mood, because obviously Gareth Ainsworth's teams, they don't give up the ghost, but I think they'll be in a relaxed mood because they're thinking, well, you know, they're safe in League 2, they're not going to go up, they're not going to go down. You know, you can start prepping for next season, really. Which I think makes this game even more difficult. And something the Mariners have got to take seriously. I know David Artell was asked about Chas Vernon, obviously coming on midweek. Do you think he's close to starting? I've got my own opinion on that, and I think it's a lot of an opinion that people will say. I mentioned that at the end of this preview, but in the previous last 17 games between the two sides, it's 6 wins apiece and 5 draws. You really couldn't get more even in the last 17. But the last 3 results have been a 1-0 win for Grimsby Town, against Gillingham. That was actually Jackson Smith's very first game for the Mariners in his emergency loan last season. That was his very first game for the club ever, really, for Jackson. So a 1-1 draw in the January of last year, and obviously this season, back in October the 18th, the Mariners came away with a 1-0 win over the Gills. So in recent times, it's 2 wins out the last 3 for the Mariners. And some facts, like I said, by BBC Sport. Gillingham have won 5 of their last 7 home league games against Grimsby, drawing 1 and losing 1, which of course was the one back in 2024. That was of course a Karen Green belting run through a goal set up by obviously former Denver Hume when he was here. It was a fantastic ball. I watched it online earlier when it popped up on my X feed. Grimsby Town are unbeaten across their last 5 Football League meetings with Gillingham, winning 3 and drawing 2. And after winning the reverse 1-0 in October, we're looking for their first league double over the Gills since the 89-90 season. That takes you back. Well, that I was only a toddler then. Gives you my age, doesn't it? But 89-90 was the last time we did the double over Gillingham. Gillingham have won just 1 of their last 10 league games, drawing 3 and losing 6. Though their sole victory came against Accrington last time out, the Gills haven't won successive home matches since September of last year. And in midweek, Reece Staunton became the 4th different Grimsby Town player in League 2 this season to miss a penalty. This season, they failed to score 6 of their 11 penalties in league action in total, the most by a 4-tier side since Blackpool and Portsmouth joined the 16-17 campaign, where they both missed 6. it's a difficult one. And I always say, I'm honest, that it should always be really an attacking player and I don't mean attacker, but I mean like an attacking midfielder or a striker more often than not. There has been good penalty takers in the past. Former Mariner Peter Handeside was a decent penalty taker. Dan Barnard was a decent penalty taker. It doesn't have to strictly be a striker or a midfielder, but I would sooner trust a striker or an attacking mid to do it. But as Andy Cook showed in the game before, that it doesn't mean in the Harrogate game doesn't mean that's going to happen. But you would always sort of put your mortgage on a striker more often than not to score the pen. But it was what it was, and we move on and get ready for this. Now, what do I think is going to happen scoreline wise? I don't know. I think saw David Artell talk about Gareth Ainsworth, and I watched a lot of Gareth's Wickham side over the years. He's so well drilled as a coach that they are going to be difficult to turn over. We've got to. It's about putting our game onto them. I think we've got to use the ball better than we did midweek. I don't think we definitely didn't use our midfield to the best of its ability. To be fair, I think Chesterfield stopped that. Often not, but I think we've got to kind of lay a marker down with these last 4 games to go, and we've got the players to do it. I mean, I've got a feeling, obviously, still with the injuries to George and that lot, I think we'll probably go with a similar midfield to what we have done. It's still a strong midfield though. So Fleming's close, so he might be involved. Who knows? I wouldn't expect many changes for midweek. I really wouldn't. There might be 1 or 2. But we've just got to be ready and raring to go. I think I'm going to go for an Andy Cook and Kieran Green brace. A 2-0 win. I think we'll do over Gillingham. That's going to be my scoreline prediction. I think, like I said, we haven't got to worry about results around us. That can happen at full time. I think what we have to do as a fan base now, we've got to think, don't worry about other results, because if we don't get our result, then their result really doesn't matter. It's get our result and then we look at it going forward. So I'm saying Kane Green and Andy Cook. Leave me your thoughts down below quickly on what you think will happen. But if I was to put, I won't say an expectation on Town, I would say to Town, just get it to the last day. Get it to the last day like Wimbledon did last year against us. Get it to the last day, never know what could happen. That's what you want. You don't want what Gillingham have got. I mean, obviously, Arto was asked about that, and like you said, they've got professional pride, but which is always important. But obviously, they haven't got to worry about going up or going down, so they've got no real pressure on them, really. Whereas, obviously, we're still chasing a playoff place. So, but the way I look at it is, guys, from 3 o'clock to 3:45, focus on the game. And from 3:45 until 10 to 5 o'clock, focus on the game. Because we cannot do anything about anyone else. Get our results, and I would say realistically from these next two, which is Cambridge and this one, 4 points minimum. At least keep the gap down to 3. If you can do that, then, who knows. But I'm saying 2-0 for this one. If you're going on that long trip down to Gillingham, and I'm sure some exiles who live around the Gillingham area will be heading to Gillingham for this one. Then safe travels down there, guys. Hopefully I'll be with you guys a lot more during next season on some away days. Let's hope so. Because I really like to get to a few more away games next season, I think. So let me know what you think. Do, like I said, safe travels down there. Leave me your thoughts, your comments, your scores, even your teams. Who do you think? What do you think Artel will do for the team? With the team for the weekend? Let me know all that down below. Like, share, comment, and subscribe. I'll be back straight after the game with a review of the game, and obviously I'll be listening to Matt Dean, listening to the game with Matt Dean, and of course Tommy Witherington, which Matt announced on his Twitter. Tommy Witherington will be joining Matt Dean for Humberside commentary tomorrow, so that'll be great. If you are overseas, of course, you can watch that on Mariners TV for just £10. So anyone that's overseas, grab that pass, and that will hopefully see us over the line. I'm sure the lads will feel the support. I'll be back with a review after the game. Until then, guys, up the Mariners, and let's just keep the faith, guys. Let's keep the faith, and let's keep the hope going. And, like I said, if we can just take it to the last day when we have a chance, you never know. Just give yourself that chance. Like, share, comment, and subscribe. Up the Mariners, and I'll see you in the next one. Ta-ra for now. Bye-bye.